However, after Lin Jing's divine sense delved into it, he discovered that the aura of the puppet guild leader still lingered on the heaven-concealing Qinquan robe. Lin Jing was utterly unable to remove it. It seemed that this was because the puppet guild leader had used the blood refinement method. Therefore, even though he was already dead, Lin Jing still couldn't allow others to refine the heaven-concealing Qinquan robe. Afterward, Lin Jing stimulated his divine sense, attempting to forcefully refine it. However, he found that no matter what he did, he couldn't erase the aura of the puppet guild leader inside. And he was also unable to refine the heaven-concealing Qinquan robe himself. Unable to refine it meant he couldn't use it, and Lin Jing felt quite helpless about it. He could only look for other methods to refine it, but Lin Jing had nothing at hand, and thus had to give up. Then, Lin Jing stored the heaven-concealing Qinquan robe away. After storing the heaven-concealing Qinquan robe and seeing that it was still early, Lin Jing continued to sit in meditation and cultivate within the system space. Just like that, until the next day's early morning. As soon as it was dawn, Lin Jing left the system space and departed from that place. This time, with the Puppet Guild leader and all 17 Puppet Guild cultivators annihilated, it would undoubtedly cause an earthquake. Lin Jing didn't want anyone to know it was his doing. So, as soon as dawn broke, Lin Jing left the cave and once again flew northward to a distant mountain, where he created a new cave dwelling meant for long-term residents. After establishing the new cave dwelling, Lin Jing changed his appearance back to the one he had used during the trade meeting and returned to the vicinity of the Sea of Blood Beach. This time, Lin Jing was looking for Su Yi. For a long time to come, Lin Jing had no plans to appear in his true form, so he had to inform Su Yi about this matter. Upon reaching the mountain where Su Yi was located, Su Yi was quite puzzled upon seeing Lin Jing and didn't understand why Lin Jing would come so early. Lin Jing immediately spoke up, saying to Su Yi, "Su Daoyu, in the coming period, I'm going to start secluding myself for cultivation, and I am here to inform you. Furthermore, the Puppet Guild leader is dead, and without the leader, the Puppet Guild will probably disappear soon." Su Yi wasn't surprised to hear about Lin Jing's planned seclusion, but Lin Jing's subsequent words left Su Yi so shocked that his mouth hung open. Su Yi's eyes widened as he looked at Lin Jing and then exclaimed in astonishment, "Lin Daoyu, you killed the Puppet Guild leader?" Lin Jing nodded and replied, "Along with the leader, all 18 Puppet Guild cultivators have perished." Upon hearing this, Su Yi instantly drew a sharp breath. "This, 18. Lin Daoyu, you are actually this powerful?" Lin Jing then opened his mouth and explained, "I am inherently a body refinement cultivator, but it was just a trick. I used blood corpses to eliminate them." Upon hearing this, Su Yi immediately understood and said, "No wonder. However, Lin Daoyu, you have eradicated the Puppet Guild by yourself, including the 18 cultivators. Even if you used blood corpses, it is no small feat." After speaking, Su Yi continued, "Without that leader, the Puppet Guild will probably disappear shortly. Brother Lin, you have indeed eliminated a scourge for all the cultivators in the Devouring Spirit Blood Realm." Lin Jing then looked at Su Yi and said, "I hope you will keep this matter confidential, Su Daoyu." Su Yi nodded and replied, "Rest assured, Lin Daoyu, I will not tell anyone about this." Lin Jing nodded, then added, "For this period of seclusion, I intend to break through directly to the Golden Core Peak and feel the power of the heavenly tribulation before emerging. If anything major happens, Su Daoyu can come looking for me directly. My new cave dwelling is located on a mountain peak about 300 miles north of the previous cave." Su Yi nodded and then asked Lin Jing, "Lin Daoyu, your seclusion might last a long time. Are you in need of spirit stones or not?" Lin Jing gently shook his head and said, "While dealing with those people from the Puppet Guild, I obtained quite a number of spirit stones. These spirit stones are enough for me to cultivate to the Golden Core Peak." Su Yi nodded his head. Afterward, Lin Jing didn't say anything more. Instead, he bid farewell to Su Yi and left, heading back to his own cave dwelling. Upon returning to the cave dwelling, Lin Jing set up defenses at the entrance and then directly entered the system space. Not long after Lin Jing began his cultivation, the death of the puppet guild leader created a massive stir. Although Lin Jing had used the 5 elements divine art to disintegrate the bodies in the devouring spirit blood realm, even those who had died could come back to life as walking corpses. And as the puppet guild leader and the other 17 cultivators of the puppet guild all transformed into walking corpses, they marched mightily toward the sea of Blood Beach. On normal days, the puppet guild leader was always seen in a gray robe, and no one had ever seen his true face. But this time, all 18 on the mission had become walking corpses without exception, and therefore the puppet guild cultivators were naturally able to identify their leader amongst them. From then on, the news of the puppet guild leader's death spread. When the news was known, everyone was shocked beyond measure. Just how powerful was the puppet guild? Probably no one was unclear about it. Otherwise, it would have been eradicated long ago. Especially that mysterious guild leader. Although he had made moves but a few times, his enigmatic yet potent image had long been etched in people's minds. Therefore, his downfall caused such a huge sensation. Moreover, coupled with the demise of the other 17 puppet guild cultivators, people couldn't help but speculate what on earth had happened to have caused the simultaneous death of 18 puppet guild cultivators, including the guild leader himself. Soon, the incident was leaked by the cultivators behind the puppet guild. Turns out this mission was actually for the sake of one person. And this person was the very powerful cultivator who had briefly appeared on the Sea of Blood shore and then entered deeper into the Sea of Blood. This person rarely showed his face, so no one knew his name. The few who did know Lin Jing's name had all participated in the mission to encircle him and had all turned into walking corpses. Consequently, Lin Jing's name also became a mystery. Later on, even the battlefield where the two sides had clashed was discovered, drawing countless onlookers. Of course, among them was a particularly curious individual who was involved throughout. That person was Zhao Lingxing. When Zhao Lingxing heard that someone had killed 18 cultivators, including the puppet guild leader, he was also extremely shocked, and he marveled at this person's strength. But as the events slowly unraveled, the deeds of Lin Jing came to light. Zhao Lingxing listened, finding the tale increasingly familiar, until finally he nearly confirmed it. It must have been Lin Jing's doing. However, Zhao Lingxing did not mention this to anyone else, and instead sought out Su Yi at the first opportunity to inquire about the situation. After Zhao Lingxing's arrival, Su Yi revealed the truth to him, that the cultivator who had slain the puppet guild leader and the other 17 members was indeed Lin Jing. Even though he had been mentally prepared, he was still so stunned that he became speechless. Afterward, Su Yi reminded Zhao Lingxing that this matter absolutely must not be revealed. Zhao Lingxing promptly nodded like a pecking chicken in agreement. In the following period, the outside world was abuzz with discussions, and the puppet guild thus fell into decline, leaving scarcely a trace of activity. As for all these occurrences in the outside world, Lin Jing was completely unaware, as he had been patiently cultivating all this time. And so, 7 years passed by just like that. During these 7 years, Lin Jing had not stepped out even once. Apart from staying within the system space, Lin Jing was cultivating using spirit stones in his own abode. In reality, Lin Jing had already reached the peak of the Golden Core 5 years ago. However, after reaching the Golden Core peak, Lin Jing did not feel the coming of the heavenly tribulation. He knew this might be because he had just entered the Golden Core peak, and his cultivation was not sufficient, hence he could not trigger the heavenly tribulation. So, after reaching the Golden Core peak, Lin Jing did not emerge to notify Su Yi. Instead, he continued to cultivate, aiming to completely perfect the realm of the Golden Core peak in one go. Sure enough, after 5 years of continuous cultivation, Lin Jing finally perfected the Golden Core peak state. At this moment, he was only one step away from the nascent soul realm. And it was then that Lin Jing finally felt the call of the heavenly tribulation. Although he sensed the calling of the heavenly tribulation, Lin Jing did not immediately emerge to face the tribulation. He still had one last step to prepare. This time, within the devouring spirit blood realm, the sensing of the heavenly tribulation was far too weak. Lin Jing also needed to prepare the elixir medicine necessary for transcending the tribulation. The elixir medicine needed for the tribulation was the Nirvana elixir. Although Lin Jing already had one top-quality Nirvana elixir, this tribulation was too crucial to leave things to chance, so he had to prepare in advance. Hence, Lin Jing needed to concoct another batch of the Nirvana elixir as a backup. Following this, Lin Jing re-entered the system's space from his abode. Previously, in the space ring of that puppet guild cultivator, Lin Jing had obtained a Nirvana flower. With that Nirvana flower in hand, Lin Jing now had all ingredients necessary to concoct the Nirvana elixir. So after entering the system space, Lin Jing immediately headed to the alchemy room, preparing to begin the alchemy process. Once in the alchemy room, Lin Jing took out the spirit plants he had already prepared. Nirvana flower, thousand spirit divine leaf, moon flow, pure heart fruit, and so on. Having taken out these ingredients, Lin Jing started the pre-processing work for the alchemy. It took him more than an hour to process all the materials. Afterward, Lin Jing meditated to recover. Once revitalized, Lin Jing was in peak condition and ready to begin the alchemy process. Then, rising to his feet, Lin Jing approached the cloud-patterned purple gold furnace and started to invoke the divine fire triple realm. A purple flame instantly rose. Lin Jing then controlled the purple flame, bringing it under the furnace to start heating it up. After a while, seeing that the pill furnace was almost ready, Lin Jing began to add the processed spirit plants into the furnace in sequence. Only after all the spirit plants were fully inside did Lin Jing sit cross-legged next to the pill furnace, carefully controlling the flame. On the other hand, he cautiously extended his divine sense to monitor the activity within the furnace. As time steadily passed, several hours flew by quickly, and the elixir medicine inside the pill furnace was almost ready. At this moment, Lin Jing, after using his divine sense for several continuous hours, looked somewhat fatigued, but his eyes were still earnestly fixed on the pill furnace, his determination unwavering. Just like that, another 6 hours quickly passed. The elixir medicine within the pill furnace finally reached the critical moment of becoming a complete elixir. At this time, the alchemy room was already filled with the intoxicating fragrance of elixir medicines. It was then that Lin Jing increased the output of his spiritual power, making the flame at the bottom of the furnace more vigorous for the final step of condensing the elixir. Not long after, the elixir medicine was finally refined, and the prompt for alchemy proficiency also popped up. Elixir medicine refinement successful. Alchemy proficiency plus 40. Only, there was no system prompt for the pure elixir. It seemed that this batch of Nirvana elixirs did not produce any pure elixir medicine, and so it was with the alchemy proficiency. There were only 40 points, so few. Lin Jing frowned as he looked at the proficiency points and muttered, "That's a bit too little." A low proficiency indicated that the quality of this batch of elixir medicine wasn't very good. However, Lin Jing was not aiming for pure quality. He already had a supreme Nirvana elixir in hand, and as long as he could refine one more supreme Nirvana elixir, he was confident that he could begin his tribulation. Afterwards, Lin Jing opened the pill furnace and took out the elixir medicine inside. When he saw the elixir medicine in his hand, his brows furrowed even tighter, because this batch of elixir medicine consisted of only 2 superior grade and 2 medium grade Nirvana elixirs. The quality of this batch of elixir medicine was not good. There wasn't even a single supreme elixir. Only 2 superior grade and 2 medium grade elixir medicines appeared. Without a supreme Nirvana elixir, Lin Jing's plan to undergo tribulation this time seemed a bit risky. Therefore, after thinking for a while, Lin Jing decided to refine another batch. He had to refine at least one more supreme Nirvana elixir. To refine Nirvana elixirs, he needed Nirvana flowers. Only now, Lin Jing ran out of Nirvana flowers and needed to accelerate the growth of another one before he could start refining the Nirvana elixir. With this thought, Lin Jing put away the elixir medicine. He then stood up, left the alchemy room, and walked towards the spirit field. Upon reaching the spirit field, Lin Jing went straight to the plot where the Nirvana flower was planted. This Nirvana flower was something Lin Jing had planted just before entering the Devouring Spirit Blood Realm. Now that he had been in the Devouring Spirit Blood Realm for almost 8 years, even with the system space's 6-fold time acceleration, it had grown for only 48 years. It was still a far cry from the 1,000 years needed for the Nirvana flower to mature. Fortunately, Lin Jing had previously upgraded the system to level 6 and chose a new feature, Spiritual Plant Instant Growth. This feature reduced the harvest points needed to accelerate the growth of magical plants. Only then did Lin Jing dare to accelerate the growth of the plant. Otherwise, he could only watch, because in the Devouring Spirit Blood Realm, Lin Jing didn't have many magical plants aside from the ones he brought in. Without magical plants, Lin Jing couldn't perform alchemy to obtain harvest points. Therefore, Lin Jing's harvest points did not increase much over those 8 years. If it weren't for the Spiritual Plant Instant Growth feature, he probably wouldn't have enough to accelerate the growth of the plants even now. Lin Jing arrived next to the Nirvana flower and then directly summoned the system. System, check the current status of the spirit plant. As Lin Jing spoke, a system panel appeared above the Nirvana flower, and the status of the Nirvana flower was also displayed within it. 4th rank spirit plant, Nirvana flower, perfect. Current environment, demon race, secret realm. Environmental match, perfect status, rapid growth. Remaining time until maturity, 452 years. Indeed, it was just as Lin Jing had expected. The Nirvana flower still needed 452 years to mature. A Nirvana flower only produced one bloom at a time, sufficient only for refining one batch of elixir medicine, which meant with less than 2,000 harvest points, Lin Jing could harvest a Nirvana flower and refine another batch of elixir medicine. Luckily, the ancillary herbs needed for the Nirvana elixir didn't take as long to grow. Otherwise, it would have been even more difficult. After checking the status of the Nirvana flower, Lin Jing spoke again. System, use the Spiritual Plant Instant Growth feature. Following Lin Jing's words, the same system panel that displayed the information of the spirit plant showed a change in information. 4th rank spirit plant, Nirvana flower, perfect. Current environment, demon race, secret realm. Environmental match, perfect status, rapid growth. Remaining time until maturity, 452 years. Instant growth cost, 4 harvest points to offset 1 year of growth time, can instantly mature to maturity. Beneath the panel, there was now an instant growth option. Lin Jing then reached out and tapped the instant growth option, after which the panel's information changed yet again. This spiritual plant instant growth will require 1808 harvest points. Do you wish to use the spiritual plant instant growth function to accelerate the maturity of the spirit plant? Beneath the panel, there were yes and no options. Without hesitation, Lin Jing reached out and selected the yes option. After Lin Jing had finished operating, a system prompt arrived. Ding! System prompt. Host has chosen to instantly grow the spirit plant, Nirvana flower, deducting 1808 harvest points. Current remaining harvest points, 9028. Following this system prompt, a black light screen immediately enveloped the Nirvana flower. The duration of the black light screen was brief, merely the blink of an eye, before it receded to reveal the matured Nirvana flower within. At this moment, the Nirvana flower looked stunningly beautiful, and its medicinal fragrance began to waft out the instant the light screen opened. It went straight into Lin Jing's nose. The aromatic scent was both pungent and slightly sweet. Breathing it in was thoroughly refreshing. When high-grade spiritual medicines have just matured, this is the case. Their scent can even be detected within several tens of miles around them. Often, in those deep mountains and dense forests, demonic beasts would fight to the death over a newly matured precious medicine. The scent of these medicines did not last very long, though, varying in duration depending on the type and quality of the spirit plant. Usually, the scent wouldn't last longer than a day, but this wasn't absolute. Some special spirit plants emitted an aroma that could last much longer, even up to a month. At that moment, Lin Jing directly picked the flower from the Nirvana plant. He needn't bother with the other parts. After picking the flower, the plant would continue to grow. Of course, if Lin Jing wished, he could even induce the maturation of another bloom. Right after Lin Jing harvested the Nirvana flower, the system prompt sounded again. Ding! System prompt. Host has harvested 1 Nirvana flower, earning 480 harvest points. Note: spirit plants grown instantly do not yield harvest points. After harvesting the Nirvana flower, Lin Jing did not linger in the spirit field and directly left the area, returning to the alchemy room. Because he had just completed a batch of elixir medicine not long ago, Lin Jing's condition was not very good at the moment. Lin Jing needed to recover first. Only after getting back to full strength could Lin Jing continue with alchemy. This time, the recovery took Lin Jing over 6 hours, but he eventually returned to full strength. After recovering, Lin Jing did not hesitate and immediately began preparations for another round of alchemy. This time, he was well prepared for the alchemy session, and with the experience from the last session, Lin Jing even felt that at the very least, he could produce 1 supreme elixir. Previously, Lin Jing had even doubted whether his skills had grown rusty from not practicing alchemy for so long, which was why he didn't perform as well during the first attempt. Especially in the past 3 years, after utilizing all the low-rank spirit plants he brought from outside, Lin Jing seldom engaged in alchemy. So, some rustiness was unavoidable. The repeating alchemy process was the same as last time. First, he processed the medicinal materials, activating the medicinal power within the spirit plants. Then, he operated the divine fire triple realm to heat the pill furnace while adding the processed spirit plants, 1 plant at a time, into the furnace in batches. Only after all the spirit plants had been added. Next, he began to seal the furnace. Meanwhile, he controlled the flames beneath the furnace and used his divine sense to monitor the conditions inside the pill furnace. Like this, 6 hours quickly passed by. The contents of the pill furnace had fully evaporated, with the medicinal liquid being extracted. At this moment, it was swirling together, converging. For this step, Lin Jing carefully controlled the condensing of the medicinal liquid within the pill furnace using his divine sense, to avoid any accidents. At the same time, the flame beneath the furnace needed constant attention. If controlled poorly even for a moment, the entire batch of elixir medicine could be ruined. Fortunately, Lin Jing's divine sense was strong, and he hardly ever made mistakes at this stage of the process. With his careful control, the medicinal liquid began to merge. Soon, it had fully converged. At this point, the scent of the elixir began to drift from the crevices of the pill furnace into Lin Jing's nose. However, Lin Jing remained unmoved. Instead, he continued to watch the pill furnace intently. This final step absolutely could not go wrong. Eventually, after a period of time had passed, just as the aroma of the elixir filled the entire alchemy room, the system prompt's voice rang out. This system prompt's voice was extremely pleasant to Lin Jing's ears. Upon hearing this system prompt, a smile involuntarily crept onto Lin Jing's face. Ding! System prompt. Congratulations to the host for successfully refining the pure elixir and obtaining a reward. 50 harvest points. Elixir medicine successfully refined. Alchemy proficiency plus 132. The pure Nirvana elixir was finally produced. By count, this should be Lin Jing's 3rd attempt at refining the Nirvana elixir. His luck was good this time around, with the emergence of a pure Nirvana elixir. Initially, Lin Jing thought that managing to produce a supreme Nirvana elixir would have been quite good already. But this pure Nirvana elixir was an unexpected delight. Lin Jing then stood up taking out a pure jade box from his space ring to be ready. Afterwards, he directly opened the pill furnace. Suddenly, the scent of the pure elixir medicine flooded the senses, intoxicatedly delightful. Also from within the pill furnace, a brilliant light shone out, bright enough to be seen from the outside. Lin Jing then used his divine sense to wrap around the several elixir pills and took them out of the furnace. This batch produced 6 elixir pills in total, 1 pure, 1 supreme, as well as 2 superior and 2 medium-grade pills. Among them, the pure Nirvana elixir stood out with its full, luminous appearance and unique aroma amidst the pills, its fragrance even overshadowing the scents given off by the other pills. This was the pure Nirvana elixir. Following that, Lin Jing directly placed the flawless Nirvana elixir into the pure jade box. After securing it, Lin Jing then stored the remaining elixir medicines in other jade boxes. With this, the alchemy session finally concluded. Lin Jing had to leave this place next. He needed to find Su Yi to prepare for departing from the Devouring Spirit Blood Realm. After exiting the system space, Lin Jing left his cave dwelling and flew towards Su Ye's cave, dwelling by the Sea of Blood. Having not emerged for several years, the Devouring Spirit Blood Realm was still as usual, with the sky filled with blood chi and everywhere deathly still. Continuing on his journey, Lin Jing arrived at Su Ye's cave dwelling. Upon seeing Lin Jing, Su Yi was overjoyed. Su Yi sized up Lin Jing and then said, "Lin Daoyu, have you sensed the heavenly tribulation?" Lin Jing nodded and then said, "Yes, I think we can also prepare to start the tribulation." Su Yi nodded and said, "If Lin Daoyu hadn't emerged from your seclusion, I was planning to come find you." Lin Jing, puzzled, looked towards Su Yi and asked, "Has something happened recently?" Su Yi nodded and said, "Yes, more and more people have been sent here over the years, and up to now, 980 have been sent. Only 20 more, and it will be full." After hearing this, Lin Jing frowned and said, "It's already that many?" Su Yi nodded and replied, "Indeed, and there's one more thing. Since you began your closed-door cultivation, I also continued practicing without a break, and my sensing of the heavenly tribulation has been getting stronger. I plan to attempt the tribulation myself, if Lin Daoyu could not sense the heavenly tribulation. But now that you also feel the heavenly tribulation power, together the two of us should be quite secure." Lin Jing nodded then asked, "Next, is there anything else we need to prepare for?" Su Yi stated, "Of course. To avoid interference during our tribulation, we need to release this news. We need to find some people to act as protectors for us." Lin Jing frowned and said, "Could it be at this time, some people still want to make trouble and don't want to get out?" Su Yi lightly nodded and said, "The human heart is unpredictable. Anything could happen. We have to be vigilant. Additionally, when I entered here, I made quite a few enemies. If I successfully ascend to the nascent soul stage, it will likely frighten certain people. So, they might very well do something during our tribulation. Because for some, they only need to use the heavenly tribulation to open the devouring spirit blood realm and do not want another nascent soul stage enemy." After hearing this, Lin Jing nodded in agreement and said, "Understand. Then we will do as you suggest, Su Daoyu." After finishing his words, Lin Jing discussed further with Su Yi, and then they prepared to go out. But just at that moment, a clamorous noise came from outside, along with a huge commotion. Upon hearing this, both Lin Jing and Su Yi frowned. Such a big commotion, don't they fear attracting blood corpses? Lin Jing and Su Yi exchanged a look. Then Su Yi said, "Let's go. We should go out and see what exactly is happening." Saying this, they both left the cave and flew out. No sooner had they emerged than a person on a flying sword raced towards them at high speed. Behind them, several other cultivators were in pursuit. Upon seeing Lin Jing and the others, the pursuers urgently called out, "Fellow cultivators, please help us stop that person. It was he who tricked us into entering this devouring spirit blood realm." Upon hearing this, Lin Jing quickly looked towards the person in front. This person's appearance was partly concealed by their clothing, and perhaps out of panic, the covering wasn't complete, leaving a small part exposed. Even so, that small part of the cheek that Lin Jing could see felt oddly familiar. As Lin Jing was pondering, Su Yi next to him had already charged forward. Su Yi brandished his flying sword, slashing directly at the person. To defend oneself, the person had to halt their flight and hastily deal with it. However, as the person was defending, the covering on their clothing slipped, revealing their face. Lin Jing then clearly saw that, indeed, the person was Shen, the shopkeeper who had tricked them into coming here. Su Yi had charged forward, most likely because he recognized the person. Both Su Yi and shopkeeper Shen were at the peak of the Golden Core stage. Confronted by Su Yi's interception, shopkeeper Shen dared not take him lightly, engaging with full effort. Su Yi, even more relentless, manipulated his flying sword in a dance of slashing, leaving shopkeeper Shen fatigued from defending. At that moment, several other cultivators also rushed over. In the blink of an eye, they surrounded shopkeeper Shen. Seeing the situation, shopkeeper Shen grew even more panicky, and his magical treasures were even knocked away by Su Yi. Shopkeeper Shen was also struck, and he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of fresh blood, wilting considerably. Shortly thereafter, Su Yi, with a stern face, controlled his flying sword, thrusting it towards shopkeeper Shen, aiming to slay him on the spot. Upon seeing this, shopkeeper Shen hurriedly spoke up, saying, "You mustn't. You can't kill me. I know the way out." Upon hearing shopkeeper Shen say this, the others surrounding him also hastily pleaded, "Su Daoyu, please show mercy. Spare his life for now and see what he has to say." It seemed that these people likely knew Su Yi as well. Su Yi looked up at that moment, fixing his gaze on the one who had just spoken, saying, "Fine, let's listen to what Wu Daoyu suggests." And then, the cultivator, surnamed Wu, also spoke up, saying, "Su Daoyu, your cultivation is profound, and shortly, we might need Su Daoyu's assistance to interrogate these few individuals." Hearing the words of the cultivator, surnamed Wu, Su Yi felt puzzled and thus asked, "Wu Daoyu, what do you mean by these few individuals?" The cultivator, surnamed Wu, replied, referring to shopkeeper Shen and his accomplices, who were also teleported here earlier. Just as the cultivator, surnamed Wu, finished speaking, a violent surge of magical power suddenly erupted from the direction of the Sea of Blood Beach. Lin Jing, Su Yi, and the other cultivators quickly turned their heads to look in the direction of the intense fluctuation. They saw in the skies above the distant Sea of Blood Beach, a fire dragon formed out of condensed spiritual power had appeared out of nowhere. Clearly, someone had unleashed a high-powered spell. Using a high-powered spell within the Devouring Spirit Blood Realm would undoubtedly attract the blood corpses, and that spellcaster would surely be doomed to death. At this moment, even shopkeeper Shen's complexion turned ashen as he looked toward the massive fire dragon made of spiritual power. Then, Su Yi turned back and asked the cultivator, surnamed Wu, "Do you have people pursuing shopkeeper Shen's accomplices?" The cultivator, surnamed Wu, nodded and responded, "Yes." After speaking, he looked towards the great fire dragon and added, "However, considering the situation, things over there look grim. It might involve quite a few of our fellow cultivators." Su Yi looked at the fire dragon and nodded as well. Then, Su Yi formed a hand seal, and at once a red light appeared in his hand, which he then shot directly into shopkeeper Shen's body. Afterward, Su Yi said to the cultivator, surnamed Wu, "I have placed a restriction within him. Wait here for a moment. I will go over there and see what's happening." The cultivator, surnamed Wu, nodded and said, "All right. Thank you for this, Su Daoyu." Su Yi nodded and then said to Lin Jing, "Lin Daoyu, please wait here for a bit. I will be back shortly." Lin Jing nodded and replied, "Okay." As soon as Lin Jing finished speaking, Su Yi had already flown away. Su Yi didn't take long to return, and when he did, he was followed by a formidable procession of several dozen people. Among them, 2 were bound by a special magical treasure. Seeing Su Yi's return, the The cultivator, surnamed Wu, along with a few people, and still holding Shopkeeper Shen, walked toward Su Yi. Soon, both parties gathered together. Then, from the crowd opposite them, the two bound individuals were brought into the middle and placed next to Shopkeeper Shen. At that time, Su Yi asked, "Out with it. Who are you serving? And also, how exactly can we get out of here?" Shopkeeper Shen and his accomplices, under the angry gaze of the crowd, couldn't help feeling a little guilty. After all, many here have been deceived by them or forcibly brought here. However, Shopkeeper Shen had never imagined there would come a day when he himself would be brought into the devouring spirit blood realm. Amidst the furious glares of the crowd, Shopkeeper Shen said, "Actually, we were acting on behalf of Master Ling. Master Ling, he instructed us to deceive you all into coming here. As for the person behind Master Ling Yi, I do not know, nor have I ever seen them." With Shopkeeper Shen's confession, everyone finally understood. It turned out Master Ling Yi had found Shopkeeper Shen and several others, instructing them to deceive many cultivators into coming to the devouring spirit blood realm through the guise of a trade meeting. If they could bring the number up to 1,000 cultivators, Master Ling Yi would grant them the method to advance to the nascent soul stage, allowing them all to reach the nascent soul stage. Actually, why specifically they had to bring people into the devouring spirit blood realm, they weren't very sure. They thought everything would go smoothly. What they didn't anticipate was being tricked by Master Ling Yi, who sent them here as well. That was the reason they appeared in this place. At that moment, Su Yi suddenly spoke up, asking the cultivator, surnamed Wu, how many people did they teleport in this time? The cultivator, surnamed Wu, replied, 19. They teleported in 19 people this time. 19, Su Yi murmured. One short. Then, Su Yi questioned Shopkeeper Shen once more. How exactly can we get out of the devouring spirit blood realm? Facing the furious crowd, Shopkeeper Shen dared not delay, quickly explaining. Within the devouring spirit blood realm, only by invoking the heavenly tribulation can we break out of the realm and leave. Su Ye's brow furrowed, and he stared coldly at Shopkeeper Shen, saying, "Tell me something I don't know." Shopkeeper Shen then said, "The devouring spirit blood realm is located at the entrance of an ancient ruin. We cannot use a teleportation array to leave from within the realm, but outside of the devouring spirit blood realm, there's a special teleportation array that allows departure." As the Shopkeeper Shen's voice fell, those around immediately burst into a buzz of discussion. Many were unaware that one could rely on the heavenly tribulation to escape the devouring spirit blood realm. Only a few knew about it. Just then, the cultivator, surnamed Wu, discussed with a few people next to him, and then approached Su Yi and said, "Taoist brother Su, you should have some understanding about this matter. Is what he said true or false?" Su Yi looked at the cultivator, surnamed Wu, and replied, "Using the power of the heavenly tribulation to break open the devouring spirit blood realm should be true. As for the teleportation array he mentioned, I am not sure. Only a soul search on him would reveal the truth." Upon hearing this, the cultivator, surnamed Wu, furrowed his brow. Soul search. This Shen is at the peak of golden core cultivation, with incredibly powerful divine sense. Who could possibly perform a soul search on him? That, obviously, isn't very realistic. At this moment, the conversation between the two was overheard by some people around them. Consequently, someone suggested, "Otherwise, we can just separate the three of them and interrogate them, or make them swear an oath with their soul spirit." After hearing this, Su Yi shook his head. Neither interrogation nor swearing by the soul spirit is particularly safe. At this point, even if they truly took an oath by their soul spirit to save themselves, we couldn't easily trust them. He then turned to the cultivator, surnamed Wu, and said, "Do you really intend to let them go?" The cultivator, surnamed Wu, was taken aback for a moment before shaking his head. For what they've done, even dying 100 times wouldn't be too much. How could I possibly let them go? Not to mention myself, the other Taoist brothers certainly wouldn't agree either. Su Yi nodded and replied, "Naturally, they understand this as well. which is why interrogation or an oath by the soul spirit remains perilous. However, as Su Yi and the cultivator, surnamed Wu, were discussing, suddenly a scream erupted from within the crowd, followed by a wave of noise. "What are you doing? If you kill them, what will we do if we can't get out?" Everyone turned to look and saw that next to Shopkeeper Shen, one of the bound cultivators had a through-and-through wound at the dantian, now gasping for his last breaths. It turned out someone took advantage of his being bound and made a move directly to kill him there. The person who acted was a slender young man. He had been stopped by others, and with faintly red eyes, he surveyed the crowd and said, "He caused us such misery, and still you trust them? Is it that you will only awaken after they have killed us all?" At this moment, someone spoke up. "Can you get us out?" However, the slender young man angrily retorted, "Even if we want to get out, we can't trust their words. Who knows if they will pull some trick?" At this time, seeing his companion killed, Shopkeeper Shen seemed to understand that his situation was dire. He quickly spoke up, "Everyone, I know I've wronged you in the past, but now you must trust me. I indeed have a method to leave. If you don't kill me, I can swear an oath on my soul spirit to take you out of the devouring spirit blood realm. The teleportation array I mentioned earlier requires a special method to activate. Without me, even if you leave the devouring spirit blood realm, you won't be able to escape." The words of Shopkeeper Shen caused a stir among the crowd. The frail young man sneered with disdain and said, "I knew it. He definitely wants to use this method as a threat, telling us we can't kill him. We have no clue about what's going on outside. Who knows if what he's saying is true or false? Even if he swears on his soul spirit, I wouldn't believe a person like him." Hearing the youth's words, everyone fell silent. So he was also at a loss, because even Su Yi couldn't discern whether what Shopkeeper Shen had said was true or false. Initially, since Shopkeeper Shen had deceived so many people into the devouring spirit blood realm, now that he had shown up here, everyone despised him to the bone. But the crowd wanted to leave the devouring spirit blood realm, and since Shopkeeper Shen had brought them in, he might very well know the way out. However, Shopkeeper Shen was far too untrustworthy. Just then, Lin Jing suddenly spoke up and said to Su Yi, "Actually, it is not impossible to conduct a soul search." Su Yi and that Wu surnamed cultivator turned their heads to look at Lin Jing and said, "Lin Daoyu, can you conduct a soul search on the one surnamed Shen? Keep in mind his cultivation is at the golden core peak, and his divine sense is incredibly powerful. A slight misstep could lead to backlash." Lin Jing nodded and said, "It's possible. It's just a bit more troublesome." Lin Jing was indeed capable of conducting a soul search on Shopkeeper Shen. Lin Jing's divine sense was already immensely strong, equivalent to the early stages of the nascent soul stage. With the divine sense strength of the nascent soul stage, conducting a soul search on a golden core cultivator was naturally feasible. In addition, Lin Jing could use an enhancement possession function to further strengthen his own divine sense. The enhanced divine sense even approached the later stages of the nascent soul stage. With divine sense of the later stages of the nascent soul stage, conducting a soul search on a cultivator at the golden core peak posed no problems. At this point, Su Yi, somewhat worried, asked Lin Jing, "Lin Daoyu, are you confident? Keep in mind that you are about to face your tribulation. At this time, you really can't afford any mishaps, otherwise, if it interrupts your tribulation, the loss would outweigh the gain." Hearing that Lin Jing was about to face his tribulation, the Wu surnamed cultivator quickly looked up in disbelief at Lin Jing. Previously, Lin Jing hadn't revealed the aura of his cultivation, so the Wu surnamed cultivator was not aware of Lin Jing's exact level of cultivation. And Su Ye's cultivation, he knew, was at the golden core peak, on the verge of facing the heavenly tribulation. Unexpectedly, this unassuming cultivator was also on the verge of facing the heavenly tribulation at the golden core peak. Lin Jing nodded affirmatively and said, "Soul searching won't be a problem. I have a secret technique that can temporarily increase the strength of my divine sense, enough to conduct the soul search. However, during the soul search, it is best not to be disturbed, so it can't be done with so many onlookers. After Lin Jing finished speaking, the Wu surnamed cultivator nodded repeatedly and said, "Naturally, it's indeed inappropriate to have an audience during a soul search. So, can the soul search be done now?" the Wu surnamed cultivator asked. After speaking, he went on to explain, "This time, Shopkeeper Shen and a few others were calculated against by true Lord Ling and sent into this devouring spirit blood realm. Clearly, it's a case of killing the donkey once the grinding is done. Now, we only lack one cultivator to meet the 1,000 golden core count. I reckon that true Lord Ling will soon send over that last person." After hearing this, Lin Jing nodded and said, "It can be done." The Wu surnamed cultivator nodded, and then he went to where Shopkeeper Shen was sealed, grabbed him, and brought him before Lin Jing. "Dao Yu, I'll leave this Shen to you." Seeing the Wu surnamed cultivator directly taking Shopkeeper Shen away, the others immediately became restless. "Wu Daoyu, what is this about? Wu Daoyu, why did you hand over that surnamed Shen to others?" Of course, some perceived the clues and asked the Wu surnamed cultivator, "Could it be that this friend has a way to make the surnamed Shen speak the truth?" Seeing everyone coming to him with questions, the Wu surnamed cultivator hurriedly explained, "Everyone, do not panic. This friend has a way to extract information from that surnamed Shen." Upon hearing the explanation from the Wu surnamed cultivator, someone immediately asked, "Wu Daoyu, are you confident?" "Really? This surnamed Shen has a high cultivation. He won't be easy to deal with." While everyone was discussing fervently, Lin Jing directly took Shopkeeper Shen and left. Lin Jing flew all the way until he reached a deserted mountain peak before descending. At that moment, Shopkeeper Shen spoke to Lin Jing, "Fellow Taoist, as long as you let me go, I can take you out. Believe me." However, Lin Jing didn't pay any attention to Shopkeeper Shen and directly activated his enhanced possession mode. Upon activation, Lin Jing instantly felt his divine sense had greatly strengthened at that moment. Then, Lin Jing stretched out his hand, ready to descend upon Shopkeeper Shen's head. Seeing Lin Jing reaching out his hand, Shopkeeper Shen also discerned Lin Jing's intention. "You want to conduct a soul search on me? Dream on. I am a golden core peak cultivator. At most, you are on par with me. Aren't you afraid of backlash doing this?" However, Lin Jing's palm had already landed on the top of Shopkeeper Shen's head. At this time, Lin Jing only looked at Shopkeeper Shen and did not respond to his words. Afterward, Lin Jing directly stimulated his divine sense, charging towards Shopkeeper Shen's sea of consciousness. But as soon as Shopkeeper Shen felt Lin Jing's divine sense, he became panicked. "No, impossible. How can your divine sense be so strong? You're not a golden core cultivator. You are a nascent soul." However, a severe pain in his brain struck, preventing him from speaking any further. And Lin Jing's divine sense had already entered Shopkeeper Shen's memories. Excruciating pain caused Shopkeeper Shen to let out a series of agonized screams. "Don't! I beg you! Spare me! I'll tell everything." However, at this moment, Lin Jing was completely focused on searching through Shopkeeper Shen's memories. He paid no attention to his wails. As time passed, Lin Jing finally finished looking through all of Shopkeeper Shen's memories. After the soul search, Lin Jing immediately withdrew his divine sense. Lin Jing had come to understand all the news held by Shopkeeper Shen. After leaving this place, it indeed was an entrance to a ruin. However, the entrance was particularly dangerous. Inside, there would be a kind of strange demonic beast that would attack cultivators. Furthermore, the entrance was not at all as Shopkeeper Shen claimed. There wasn't a teleportation array. Shopkeeper Shen only wanted to use this excuse to save his life. Although there was no teleportation array, one could be set up by oneself. After understanding everything, Lin Jing hurriedly withdrew his divine sense. After retracting his divine sense, Lin Jing rubbed his aching head, took a moment to recover, and then looked towards Shopkeeper Shen. At this point, Shopkeeper Shen's gaze had become dull and foolish. His spiritual sense couldn't withstand Lin Jing's soul search and had scattered, leaving him in this foolish state, with no possibility of recovery. Lin Jing then directly summoned the Ling Yin Flawless Sword and executed Shopkeeper Shen on the spot. The Ling Yin Flawless Sword had previously been wrapped by the heaven-concealing Qinquan robe and lost its connection with Lin Jing. However, this was only temporary. In less than a day, the Ling Yin Flawless Sword slowly recovered and could be used again. After killing Shopkeeper Shen, Lin Jing directly grabbed his corpse and flew back. Once back, Lin Jing threw the body down. The crowd below immediately fell silent. Nobody had expected Lin Jing to handle things so efficiently, to go out for just a short while, and already have killed Shopkeeper Shen. Lin Jing himself landed next to Su Yi and the Wu surnamed cultivator and conveyed the information he had obtained from Shopkeeper Shen to Su Yi and the Wu surnamed cultivator. After finishing, Lin Jing, citing the need to recover, promptly left the area. The use of soul search, despite Lin Jing forcibly enhancing his divine sense strength with an external boost, was still quite burdensome when facing Shopkeeper Shen at the Golden Core Peak. Until now, his head still throbbed slightly. He was in urgent need of rest. So, after bidding farewell to Su Yi and the Wu surnamed cultivator, Lin Jing directly returned to his cave dwelling. 2 hours later, while Lin Jing was in the process of recovering, Su Yi came to him again to inform him of the results of their discussion. Lin Daoyu, the results of the discussion are out, Su Yi said in haste as soon as he arrived. Lin Jing replied, "What are they?" Su Yi said, "Wu Daoyu and I, along with a few others, have decided that the two of us will summon the heavenly tribulation to break open the devouring spirit blood realm. Wu Daoyu and the others will be responsible for establishing the teleportation array, and also act as protectors for us, helping us to leave this place." Lin Jing nodded, then asked, "Then Su Daoyu, when do you plan to undergo the tribulation?" After thinking for a moment, Su Yi said, "Let's make it 3 days from now." Lin Jing nodded, "All right." After speaking, Su Yi gave Lin Jing some additional instructions and informed him of the location of their impending tribulation. This tribulation was different from any they had faced before. Though they would undergo their tribulations at the same time, they must keep a distance to avoid attracting each other's lightning, which could lead to a more powerful tribulation. It was only after this discussion that Su Yi left. Before the 3 days were up, before the date agreed upon by Lin Jing and Su Yi for the tribulation had arrived, an unexpected change occurred. On the second day, the last cultivator was sent in. Not long after this last cultivator arrived, the whole devouring spirit blood realm underwent a drastic change. Huge waves rose within the entire realm, washing many blood corpses onto the shores of the Sea of Blood. In the sky, the blood-colored clouds that continuously obscured the heavens dissipated, revealing the moon that had always hung in the sky. Besides that, the devouring spirit blood realm, which had previously lacked any spiritual power, suddenly exhibited signs of it. The sensitivity to the heavenly tribulation also greatly increased compared to before. At this moment, Lin Jing quickly rushed out of his cave dwelling. Looking at the anomalies in the sky, he furrowed his brow. Could these disturbances be the sign that the divine transformation cultivator outside was about to begin concocting the blood elixir? Just as Lin Jing was preparing to seek out Su Yi for answers, Su Yi and the Wu surnamed cultivator flew over to him. The Wu surnamed cultivator spoke up at this time. "Lin Daoyu, we can't wait any longer. This last person has just been sent here, and looking at these signs, the concoction of the blood elixir is probably about to begin." So he also spoke up. "Now that spiritual power has returned to the devouring spirit blood realm, it is time for us to draw down the heavenly tribulation and break free from this realm." Lin Jing looked at the full moon in the sky, yet he did not know if there was a divine transformation cultivator observing this place from behind that moon. Lin Jing nodded, then said to Su Yi, "Is Daoyu Su fully prepared? Lacking any elixir medicine required for the tribulation?" Su Yi shook his head and replied, "Rest assured, I had already made preparations while I was in the outside world. What about you, Lin Daoyu? How are your preparations? Lin Jing also nodded and responded. I'm fully prepared as well, ready to begin the tribulation at any time. At this time, the Wu surnamed Cultivator spoke up. Since that's the case for both of you, let's get started now. Delay might lead to unforeseen complications. The two nodded and then, in accordance with the agreement they had previously made, split up and went to two different places, ready to begin the tribulation. The Wu surnamed Cultivator then left with Su Yi, departing from this place. After discussion, Lin Jing and Su Yi had chosen separate locations for their tribulations. Su Yi was near the Sea of Blood Beach, and Lin Jing was in the mountain range where he had previously encountered Qi Yuanshu. The distance between the two places was sufficient so that even if they triggered heavenly tribulation, they would not interfere with each other. By the time Lin Jing arrived near the mountain range, there were already several people waiting for him. These individuals were the protectors who had agreed to safeguard Lin Jing during his tribulation, to prevent malicious interference from others. They had met with Lin Jing before. Their early arrival here must have been due to the Wu surnamed Cultivator notifying them in advance before informing Lin Jing. After Lin Jing arrived, the leading blue-robe cultivator quickly stepped forward to greet Lin Jing. Lin Daoyu. This time, it all depends on you and Daoyu Su. Rest assured, we are here and won't allow anyone to disturb you. Lin Jing nodded and said to the man, Then I will have to trouble you all. The blue-robed cultivator quickly waved his hand. You're too kind, Lin Daoyu. After speaking, the blue-robed cultivator turned around and said to the others, All right, prepare yourselves. As the blue-robed cultivator's words fell, the others immediately dispersed in different directions. At this time, the blue-robed cultivator also said to Lin Jing, Lin Daoyu, we're ready. You can start preparing for the tribulation now. If we delay any longer and the blood corpses begin to stir again, that would be inauspicious. Lin Jing nodded, remembered the scene from the previous Golden Core tribulation, and hence said to them, Retreat a bit further away later. My heavenly tribulation may not be that ordinary. The blue-robed cultivator nodded after hearing this and replied, Rest assured, Lin Daoyu, the heavenly tribulation of the nascent soul stage is no trifling matter. We know what's at stake. After saying this, the blue-robed cultivator also withdrew. Lin Jing then proceeded to a relatively higher peak to begin preparing for his tribulation. Atop this mountain peak, a defensive array had already been laid out. It was set up for Lin Jing's use during his tribulation. Indeed, the heavenly tribulation of the nascent soul stage is no trifling matter. Beyond this formation, Lin Jing had also made some preparations in advance. For this purpose, Lin Jing had specially refined the shield he had obtained from the puppet guild leader. The shield was a superior magical treasure with truly good defensive capabilities. If the power of the tribulation lightning was too strong, he could use the shield to fend it off. However, as a cultivator who practiced the Overlord Divine physique, Lin Jing's physical strength should suffice to withstand the early stages of the tribulation lightning. This shield, too, is but a precaution for unexpected needs. Arriving at the mountaintop, Lin Jing sat down cross-legged directly. Then, he took out an elixir medicine and swallowed it straight away. This was precisely that top-grade Nirvana elixir. This time, Lin Jing did not consume that Untainted Nirvana elixir directly. Instead, he first took a top-grade Nirvana elixir. At that moment, the Devouring spirit blood realm underwent a sudden change, gaining some spiritual power. Lin Jing's sensitivity to the heavenly tribulation had also increased quite a bit. Now, taking the top-grade Nirvana elixir should be about right. If that still wasn't enough, he could consume the Untainted Nirvana elixir later. After taking the Nirvana elixir, Lin Jing immediately began to circulate the immortal 5 elements technique, gathering his cultivation and attempting to draw down the heavenly tribulation. As Lin Jing tirelessly circulated his cultivation technique, tried to attract the heavenly tribulation after wasting more than 4 hours. Lin Jing only sensed abnormalities in the sky above. Lin Jing clearly felt that the heavenly tribulation was about to arrive, but it seemed to be obstructed by something, preventing it from descending. That is why it had yet to come down. Thus, Lin Jing continued to circulate the immortal 5 elements technique, condensing the spiritual power within his body, fully releasing the aura of his cultivation to keep drawing the heavenly tribulation. However, this time, another 4 hours passed, and those tribulation thunders in the sky still had not fallen. Even at another location, Su Ye's place, there was no disturbance. Under normal circumstances, with the cultivation aura that Lin Jing now revealed, the heavenly tribulation should have descended long ago. But within this devouring spirit blood realm, he was still unable to bring down the heavenly tribulation. Soon, the potency of that first top-grade Nirvana elixir had been completely exhausted by Lin Jing. With no other option, Lin Jing took out the Untainted Nirvana elixir to consume. This Untainted Nirvana elixir was vastly different from the top-grade Nirvana elixir. The moment it entered his mouth, it transformed into a refreshingly sweet warmth that flowed into his belly. Instantly, Lin Jing felt a boom within himself, as the spiritual power inside him ignited in an instant. It churned ceaselessly like boiling water. At this time, Lin Jing dared not delay. He promptly closed his eyes and continued refining the power of the medicine. Just as Lin Jing was refining the elixir's potency, preparing for his tribulation, the devouring spirit blood realm was undergoing earth-shattering transformations. At this point, the devouring spirit blood realm was shrouded in boundless mists of blood, seemingly enveloping everyone completely. And the blood mist, like the time Lin Jing approached the sea of blood boundary, could devour the spiritual power of the cultivators. Moreover, the sea of blood itself was also surging with waves hundreds of meters high, endlessly beating towards the shore. It appeared as though it would engulf the land. At this time, nightfall had not yet arrived, but the moon above had already lit up, casting a chilling red moonlight. It seemed like an eye set to watch over everything. Even the red mist in the sky, which had previously disappeared, now reappeared and was incessantly pressing downwards. This red mist had even enveloped some of the taller peaks. A moment later, as the red mist seemed about to swallow Lin Jing, night descended, and the blood zombies that were dormant began to awaken at this time. The blue-robed cultivator, seeing Lin Jing still motionless, could not help but grow anxious. They truly intended to be Lin Jing's protectors, but now night had fallen. Lin Jing still hadn't attracted the heavenly tribulation. If the blood zombies truly came, they would find it challenging to cope. At this time, the blue-robed cultivator, looking at Lin Jing, couldn't help but frown deeply. A moment later, the sky remained as gloomy as ever, without any activity. Seeing the blood zombies about to emerge, the blue-robed cultivator glanced at Lin Jing and then at the sky. Then he clenched his teeth, abandoned Lin Jing, and dove into the cave he had prepared earlier. The cultivators who had followed the blue-robed cultivator all acted likewise upon seeing his example. Having entered the cave that was already prepared, only Lin Jing was left outside in the world to face the heavenly tribulation alone. After a while, when the blood fiend appeared and saw Lin Jing on the mountain peak, it pounced on him like a ravenous wolf. At this moment, Lin Jing still sat with his eyes closed, attracting the descent of the heavenly tribulation. To draw the heavenly tribulation, Lin Jing had even blocked out his senses to the outside world. He concentrated all his spiritual power fully, aiming for a breakthrough to the nascent soul stage. As Lin Jing's breakthrough efforts intensified, the signs of the impending heavenly tribulation grew stronger. Normally, with Lin Jing on the cusp of entering the nascent soul stage, attracting the heavenly tribulation should have been quite easy. But Lin Jing could clearly feel something. Outside the devouring spirit blood realm, it seemed as if someone was constantly obscuring the heavenly secrets and preventing the heavenly tribulation from descending. That was why it had taken so long, and the heavenly tribulation had still not arrived. At this moment, Lin Jing knew that this period was the most critical and he must not grow impatient. At present, he was competing with the divine transformation cultivator behind the devouring spirit blood realm. If he could not summon the heavenly tribulation, then that divine transformation cultivator's blood elixir would be refined. Once that happened, and the cultivator broke through to a realm above divinity transformation, Lin Jing feared that not even the system space would keep him safe from danger. If he could summon the heavenly tribulation at this critical juncture, the divine transformation cultivator would surely fail in his efforts. It might even cause him to suffer injuries. Moreover, with the tribulation lightning above Lin Jing's head, even the divine transformation cultivator would have to retreat. In this brief period, those blood fiends had already reached the outside of the defensive array. It was at this moment, crack! Suddenly, a thunderous roar erupted. This clap of thunder appeared out of place in the devouring spirit blood realm, cutting across the sky and splitting open a crack in the blood realm. That crack tore across the sky as if the heavens themselves had been ripped apart. Right then, from within the torn sky, two blood-red, savage, beast-like eyes appeared and a hoarse, furious roar could be heard. "Who are you? To thwart my millennium-long plan, I will certainly tear you to pieces." The voice was laden with a terrifying cultivation aura, and even those who merely heard it shivered in fear. The red eyes swiftly locked onto Lin Jing, and then the ancient voice resounded again. "I've found you. Go to your death." As the words fell, 100-jong-wide, blood-red giant hand descended from the sky towards Lin Jing. At this moment, Lin Jing suddenly stood up and looked up at the blood-red giant hand. He was not afraid in the least, because the heavenly tribulation had already arrived. In the sky above, where the blood-red hand was, black tribulation clouds began to slowly gather. And within those tribulation clouds, a colossal bolt of purple tribulation lightning, several zhong in diameter, crashed down. The target of that bolt was not Lin Jing, but rather the blood-red giant hand. With just one strike, the blood-red giant hand was dispersed into nothingness. "Ah!" A shrill scream echoed in the sky. Immediately after, a rain of blood fell from the tear in the heavens. Immediately following, that ancient roar from the sky once again came. "Scoundrels! Destroying my opportunity, severing my path to advancement, I will remember you, and once I find you, I will tear you to pieces." Clearly, the divine transformation cultivator who had been hindering Lin Jing's tribulation had by then sustained serious injuries and no longer possessed the strength to prevent the descent of the heavenly tribulation. That was why he was making threats against Lin Jing. After that, in the sky, the two red beams disappeared, and that voice was no longer heard. At the same time, the momentum of the heavenly tribulation grew stronger, and the black tribulation clouds became denser. The blood corpses that had been preparing to besiege Lin Jing had by then collapsed to the ground, unable to stand up again. Normally, above the heads of these blood corpses, there should have been devouring spirit entities. However, under the heavenly tribulation, those spirits detached themselves from the blood corpses and flew away rapidly, screaming. This lightning was the bane of those spirits. They dared not expose themselves to the lightning. Just as lightning was beginning to condense on Lin Jing's side, Lin Jing saw another thunderclap in a different part of the sky, and another rift appeared. After that, a familiar aura drifted over. This time, it was clear that Su Yi had also attracted the heavenly tribulation after the divine transformation cultivator retreated. By then, the tribulation clouds above Lin Jing's head had become heavier and the range had expanded. Within the scope of the tribulation clouds, a terrifying pressure pervaded, as if the wrath of the heavens was palpable, causing one to shudder with fear. Standing under these clouds, one felt no different from an ant. At that moment, Lin Jing looked up at the expanding range of tribulation clouds and couldn't help but furrow his brows. But just then, Lin Jing suddenly remembered something and broke into a cold sweat. There were still several cultivators hidden nearby. Those were the ones who were supposed to act as Lin Jing's protectors. Fearing the blood corpses, they had hidden inside a cave and had not yet emerged. Seeing the speed at which the tribulation clouds were spreading, Lin Jing feared they would soon be enveloped as well. They were supposed to protect him, yet now they had hidden themselves in advance. This action of theirs truly angered Lin Jing. Originally, they had agreed to help him, but they had sought refuge before the blood corpses arrived, serving no purpose at all. If not for the defensive array they had set up, Lin Jing would have undoubtedly confronted them about the issue. However, Lin Jing had no time to quarrel with them now, as the tribulation clouds were still expanding. If the clouds enveloped them, not only would they certainly die, but their presence would also cause the lightning's power to intensify, making Lin Jing's tribulation even more difficult. So Lin Jing quickly took out 2 puppets he had seized from the cultivators of the Puppet Guild. Then, with divided attention, he controlled the 2 puppets to head towards the caves where the 2 people were hiding. Due to the nature of the devouring spirit blood realm, at this moment, regardless of any noise Lin Jing made, they would probably not leave their cave. The only option was to shatter the huge rocks that covered their cave. Next, Lin Jing used the 2 puppets to approach the blue-robed cultivator and the cave entrance of another person. Then, he directly commanded the puppets to smash at the black boulders blocking the entrance. The black boulders were not very hard, and in a moment, the boulders were shattered. The 2 cultivators inside were revealed. When the blue-robed cultivator saw the puppet, he was immediately startled, because after the puppet guild leader had perished, the puppet cultivators either had gone into hiding or had a change of heart, joining other organizations. They had hardly appeared since. But now, a puppet cultivator had appeared once again. How could he not be shocked? Just then, an icy and familiar voice came. "Get out quickly. Take your people and leave this place at once." The blue-robed cultivator, hearing the sound, hurriedly walked out of the cave and looked outside, just in time to see the heavenly tribulation that was gathering in the sky. And below the heavenly tribulation, there was Lin Jing with a cold face. Seeing this scene, the face of the blue-robed cultivator turned red with a swish. There was no helping it. He was simply too ashamed. At that moment, another person also emerged from the cave. The 2 of them exchanged glances and instantly looked at each other in dismay. Originally, their group was meant to act as protectors, yet as they watched danger approach, they hid themselves first, leaving Lin Jing alone in his place. Now, with an indifferent look in his eyes, Lin Jing turned to the blue-robed cultivator. "Are you not going to take your people and leave? Don't delay my tribulation here." The blue-robed cultivator looked up at Lin Jing on the mountain peak. Lin Jing stood proudly atop the peak, his aura astonishing, with the continuously flashing lightning of the tribulation clouds above him. Confronted by Lin Jing's imposing aura, the blue-robed cultivator quickly bowed his head. Afterward, he and another cultivator dragged the remaining people out of the cave. By now, the tribulation clouds were still expanding outward. It seemed that before long, they would envelop the group. After leading the people out, they all hastily retreated quite some distance. Originally, they had chosen a location already quite far away. But unexpectedly, the tribulation cloud above Lin Jing's head didn't seem to stop expanding, continuing to spread outward. They had never seen such tribulation thunder before. Even they were stunned, having never witnessed such a heavenly tribulation. At the same time, besides being shocked, they all fell silent. No one took the initiative to speak. The stronger the heavenly tribulation, the greater the individual's strength was implied to be. And Lin Jing, who was undergoing the tribulation, clearly had extraordinary potential. Now they all felt some regret. If they had held on a little longer earlier, they might have made a good impression on him. Perhaps they could have even forged a connection with him. But now, the blue-robed cultivator, looking at Lin Jing under the tribulation clouds preparing for his tribulation, couldn't help feeling regretful. On the other hand, Lin Jing, after they all withdrew from the range of the heavenly tribulation, no longer paid them any attention. Lin Jing was now fully focused on the tribulation clouds above him. The tribulation clouds continued to expand. Lin Jing couldn't help but frown. If it kept expanding, it would affect Su Ye's tribulation, and that would be troubling. At this time, near the Sea of Blood Beach, Su Ye's heavenly tribulation had already taken shape. Whether in terms of the clouds' extent or the pressure beneath them, it was far less than Lin Jing's tribulation. Suddenly, a thunderous boom resounded through the sky. It was the first thunderbolt of the tribulation falling. This thunderbolt was the first of Su Ye's tribulation. This thunderbolt was tremendously powerful. It left the Wu surnamed cultivator and the other protectors around him utterly shocked. Of course, far away, hundreds of miles distant in the mountain range, Lin Jing also sensed the breath of the thunderbolt as it descended. Although Lin Jing's heavenly tribulation had arrived first, it was still in the brewing stages. By now, the tribulation clouds had already enveloped the whole nearby mountain range. Fortunately, to be cautious earlier, the blue-robed cultivator and his fellows had asked everyone in the area to leave. Otherwise, if others were involved in the heavenly tribulation, with its power doubled, even Lin Jing himself might have difficulty passing through it safely. Meanwhile, the blue-robed cultivators below had retreated another distance, and they were now all as quiet as cicadas in winter, not daring to make the slightest noise, lest they disturb Lin Jing's tribulation. Yet within the hearts of the few, a wave of regret was incessantly spreading. Fortunately, though the heavenly tribulation was powerful, it had its limits, and the event that Lin Jing had been worried about did not occur. After engulfing the nearby mountain range, the clouds of tribulation had ceased expanding, no longer growing. Instead, the tribulation clouds continued to intensify in a different manner. The air grew more and more condensed with a potent atmosphere, and even the surrounding pressure of heaven and earth became increasingly intense. Even the blue-robed cultivators, who hadn't entered the range of the heavenly tribulation, were affected by this terrifying pressure. They had only endured this pressure of heaven and earth for a short while before they could no longer bear it and retreated dozens of miles away. They only dared to look on at Lin Jing's side from a far distance, not daring to get close. At that moment, the power of the tribulation lightning had fully accumulated. Continuous muffled rumbles emanated from the tribulation clouds above. Suddenly, a bright blue light flashed across the sky. A thunderous boom sounded. A blue lightning bolt, hundreds of feet thick, struck down, enveloping Lin Jing and the entire mountaintop. Before that, Lin Jing had activated his overlord body, covering himself with a layer of golden light to resist the heavenly tribulation. This first lightning bolt had come fast and left just as swiftly. Soon, the first bolt of lightning dissipated. In the aftermath, the ground near Lin Jing was completely scorched black. Even the very summit where Lin Jing stood had a layer sheared off by that first strike of lightning. Yet, there was not a single scratch on Lin Jing's body. The blue-robed cultivators, who had witnessed the first bolt of lightning, were left dumbfounded. Such was the power of the first bolt of lightning. Wouldn't the subsequent bolts then be several times stronger? If it were they who faced it, they would likely be severely injured by this first lightning strike. At this time, Lin Jing, looking up at the sky, saw the thunder within the tribulation clouds tumbling unceasingly. Clearly, the second bolt was garnering strength. Right then, Lin Jing sensed it. Another bolt of lightning had descended upon Su Ye's location. This lightning bolt should be Su Ye's sixth. The lightning strikes befalling Su Ye were much faster than Lin Jing's. And so, after waiting a little while longer, Lin Jing's second bolt of lightning finally descended. This second bolt was also blue, only it was much thicker than the first bolt. In the face of this second lightning strike, Lin Jing, aside from operating the Overlord Divine Physique, did not take any defensive measures. Of course, there was also a formation that took on some of the damage from the lightning strike for Lin Jing. Shortly after, the third bolt arrived. It was still a blue lightning strike. This third bolt finally made Lin Jing feel some pressure. After the third strike, the color of the lightning within the tribulation clouds in the sky changed. It turned red. Countless red electric arcs, accompanied by a rumbling sound, churned non-stop within the clouds. After a moment, the rumbling sound suddenly choked. Lin Jing's heart went on alert immediately. He looked up quickly while operating the Overlord Divine Physique, ready to withstand the incoming bolt. Indeed, just as the golden light on Lin Jing's body reached its peak, a red lightning bolt, hundreds of feet thick, struck down in response. The red lightning was incredibly fierce. The moment it contacted the formation set up to aid Lin Jing in his tribulation, it directly shattered it. One must know that the formation was a fourth-rank formation. It was specifically designed for use against nascent soul cultivators, and although it might not have been perfect due to the materials used, it was not far off from a true fourth-rank formation. Unexpectedly, under the assault of the red tribulation lightning, it failed to last even a single breath. After the formation shattered, the red tribulation lightning struck down towards Lin Jing's head without any impediment. Lin Jing hurriedly circulated his Overlord Divine Physique, intensifying the golden radiance around him, doing his utmost to resist the descending red tribulation lightning. This bolt of red tribulation lightning persisted for a full 3 breaths before it finally dissipated. Once the tribulation lightning had vanished, the mountain peak where Lin Jing stood had been sheared off substantially, and the originally red mountaintop had turned even more crimson. This was because even the rocks themselves had been melted by the tribulation lightning, transforming into glowing red magma. At this point, to withstand that first bolt of tribulation lightning, Lin Jing had used up quite a bit of spiritual power. So, Lin Jing quickly took out a flawless yellow dragon elixir from his space ring and swallowed it. After swallowing it, a warm current created by the elixir's liquid flowed down into Lin Jing's abdomen. Lin Jing then took this opportunity to quickly sit down cross-legged, hoping to recover as much as possible. But not much time had passed, and Lin Jing had not yet fully recovered when he sensed a rumbling within the tribulation clouds above, a sign that the next bolt of tribulation lightning was about to strike. Consequently, Lin Jing got to his feet, his eyes fixed on the clouds above, ready to face the 5th bolt of tribulation lightning. Boom! The 5th bolt of tribulation lightning arrived, just as Lin Jing had anticipated, right on schedule. Fortunately, Lin Jing was already well prepared. This 5th bolt was strong, but could not truly harm Lin Jing. After the 5th bolt had passed, the 6th bolt of tribulation lightning followed in quick succession. The 6th bolt caused Lin Jing some injuries. Afterwards, Lin Jing took out another flawless healing pill, the Huanqing Elixir, from his space ring and swallowed it. After taking the Huanqing Elixir, Lin Jing swiftly sat down cross-legged again, ready to recover. However, just as Lin Jing had sat down cross-legged, the color of the tribulation lightning in the sky changed once more, from red to purple, and this time the lightning came swiftly. Just as Lin Jing had sat down and began his practice, not even completing 2 cycles, the 7th bolt of purple tribulation lightning struck. This 7th bolt was utterly sudden, giving Lin Jing no time to react, and there had been no warning at all beforehand. When the 100-jong thick purple tribulation lightning cleared, it revealed Lin Jing, who had been struck until his flesh was lacerated and his skin split open. Moreover, over Lin Jing's wounds, purple arcs of lightning scurried incessantly, continuously damaging the wounds to prevent them from healing. Thankfully, Lin Jing's Overlord Divine Physique healed at an astonishing rate. Although the purple arcs were destroying it, his skin still rapidly restored to its original state. Next, Lin Jing swallowed another yellow dragon elixir and a Huanqing elixir, preparing for the upcoming 8th bolt of tribulation lightning. At that moment, Lin Jing also brought out the shield he had obtained from the puppet guild leader, rotating it around himself. This 8th bolt of tribulation lightning took quite a while to gather. However, the longer the lightning charged, the more powerful it became. As the 8th bolt of tribulation lightning descended, It was still a column of purple lightning, but now accompanied by black arcs of lightning that twirled around it. After the 8th bolt of lightning struck, Lin Jing swiftly brought out the shield to defend. However, the shield lasted only a single breath before it was shattered by the Tribulation lightning. Then, unimpeded, the lightning bore down on Lin Jing, with time ticking away gradually. The 8th Tribulation thunder showed no signs of dissipating. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. Just like that, a full 6 breaths passed. Only then did the 8th Tribulation thunder completely scatter. After the Tribulation thunder had dissipated, upon looking at Lin Jing, one could see he was charred all over, almost beyond recognition as a human. Most of the flesh on Lin Jing's body had also been melted by the thunder. At this moment, one could even peer through the charred flesh and see Lin Jing's heart, weakly pulsating. Moreover, there were black arcs of lightning traveling incessantly across Lin Jing's body, causing the already charred wounds on his body to crack and reveal the red flesh underneath. By this time, the mountain peak where Lin Jing had been standing had long since disappeared, leaving behind only a deep pit. It was at this moment a tremendously strong divine sense swept over the area. Then, a figure suddenly appeared near the mountain range. Without using any magical treasures, he stood in midair, his expression cold, but when he looked toward Lin Jing at the center of the Tribulation clouds, his eyes filled with concern. Immediately after, he took a step forward and vanished in an instant, appearing next to the blue-robed cultivator and several others when he re-emerged. The blue-robed cultivator, seeing the newcomer, quickly bowed his head and cupped his hands, saying, "Su Daoyu, Senior Su." It turned out that this individual was none other than Su Yi, who had just completed his tribulation and successfully advanced to the nascent soul stage. Su Yi nodded slightly at him, then asked the blue-robed cultivator, "Which tribulation thunder is Lin Daoyu currently facing?" The blue-robed cultivator was somewhat nervous, and he quickly responded, Back to Senior Su. Lin Daoyu has just passed the 8th Tribulation thunder, and now there's only the last one left." Su Yi looked at him, his brow furrowing slightly, assuming it was the imposing aura he couldn't quite conceal after his own tribulation that was making the cultivator nervous. Shortly after, Su Yi didn't think much of it and turned his attention back to Lin Jing at the center of the Tribulation clouds. The Tribulation clouds in the sky were still brewing the final thunder. As for Lin Jing, he was rapidly self-recovering at the moment. The potent medicinal power of the Wugo Huan Sheng elixir, coupled with the abnormally powerful self-healing ability of the Overlord Divine physique Lin Jing had cultivated, took just a few breaths for Lin Jing's charred flesh to fall off on its own, and for new flesh to quickly regenerate at a pace visible to the naked eye. Just as Lin Jing was healing, a few more people flew in this direction. These individuals were none other than the Wu surnamed cultivators who had been Su Ye's protectors. After Wu and the others arrived, they greeted Su Yi and proceeded to question the blue-robed cultivator about the situation. The blue-robed cultivator answered, but his responses were hesitant. It seemed as if there was something he was concealing. Wu looked at the blue-robed cultivator, whose gaze, however, was somewhat evasive. Even the other cultivators standing by the blue-robed cultivator turned their heads aside, as if they had done something wrong. Some even sneakily glanced at Lin Jing. Having lived for hundreds of years, Wu, well-versed in the ways of the world, could not help but realize that there must be some hidden matters. Then, Wu's expression darkened as he said to the blue-robed cultivator, "Chu Daoyu, you and I have known each other for a long while. Speak plainly if there is a hidden matter, for if you wait until Elder Lin has finished the tribulation to tell us, it will be too late." The blue-robed cultivator knew he couldn't escape, so he had no choice but to tell everything that had happened before. When he heard that a few people were serving as protectors, they abandoned Lin Jing alone and hid by themselves. The first to react was Su Yi. All one could see was Su Ye's icy gaze turning towards those few blue-robed cultivators. At the same time, the wild divine sense pressure of the nascent soul stage, without any hesitation, pressed directly towards them. The few couldn't withstand it and immediately stumbled, kneeling on the ground. Sui said coldly, "Is this how you few serve as protectors for Lin Daoyu?" Facing Suye's pressure, their bodies shook like chaff in the wind. The blue-robed cultivator hurriedly explained, "Su, Senior Su, we were also possessed by a moment of folly then. Seeing that the heavenly tribulation had not yet come, and the blood corpses had already revived, we had no choice but to hide. We also earnestly begged Senior Su to spare us." However, the explanation of the blue-robed cultivator did nothing to quell Suye's anger. But just at this moment, a Wu-surnamed cultivator made a move directly, concentrating spiritual power, forming a huge yellow palm imprint, and slapped down at the few cultivators. At this time, those few were trembling under Suye's pressure and didn't dare to resist. With that slap, they all flew backward, coughing up blood. This slap was certainly not light. Following that, plop plop, the few fell to the ground. Just then, the Wu-surnamed cultivator stepped forward, berating them, and said, "What did we say before? That as Senior Lin and Senior Su undergo tribulation and lead us out, we are to ensure their safety before the tribulation. Although this world values strength, good looks are justice, and given the same circumstances, who would bother with an ugly fool? Ma Tuo is right. Li Yuan, after all, has a hidden profession, which gives him a much larger advantage. Plus Li Yuan is already at level 9, said Shen Yuan, seated next to Wang Matuo, casting a disdainful glance at Luo Kai's. This guy had some background and often caused trouble in school with a bunch of hooligan friends, much to the disgust of many girls. What? Li Yuan, how could you have reached level 9 so quickly? Luo Kai's, who had been scoffing moments ago, suddenly turned his head to look at Li Yuan, his face full of disbelief. Everyone had only just finished awakening and switching classes, barely leaving White Crane Academy, and the only way to gain a large amount of experience was the first run through the newbie dungeon. He had chosen the elite difficulty, yet he was only just at level 6 now. Realizing this, his expression turned even uglier, and his gaze towards Li Yuan even held a hint of fear. He might be an underachiever, but he wasn't stupid, and with a little thought, he figured out the reason. Only by clearing a rare dungeon, particularly those of extreme difficulty, could one gain the massive experience that shoots them straight to level 9. Anyone who can conquer a rare dungeon from the first try is a genius coveted by all big academies, whose future accomplishments overshadow those of ordinary students. Is the gap between hidden professions and common professions that big? Luo Kai's instantly lost interest in mocking others and even felt like a clown. Shen Yuan did not pay attention to Luo Kai's, but continued to softly ask Li Yuan. Li Yuan, did you know Shen Yuro switched to the lifestyle profession of mechanic? Yuro became a mechanic? Like the kind that screws bolts in factories? Li Yuan's head snapped around, looking at Shen Yuan with disbelief in his voice. His relationship with Shen Yuro was somewhat complex, as they both came from the same orphanage, though their fates were different. Thanks to a fling with Lady Luck, he had left that place early and gone on to a life of happiness. The girl, Shen Yuro, on the other hand, grew up relying solely on her superior intellect. However, she had always been competitive with him, mainly because she had never managed to outperform him from their first year through to their third, as he consistently ranked above her. It was unexpected that the usually so determined girl had awakened and switched to a lifestyle profession.